Well, hello, Jim Craddock here. It is Wednesday, November 1st. I haven't had an update in several days. I realize that things have happened though, and I will provide kind of what that update is. To kind of bring you up to speed, I have a condition that is iatrogenic. I call it to solve another problem that I had that nobody else was going to solve because of where I was at. This condition has been redacted completely from medical literature, despite the fact that it was very well documented. And I think that's because it has some extreme long-term effects, changes physiology, and it's very controversial. So great. Doctors don't know about it. So if you get it, they're never going to think of it because it doesn't exist according to them, because it's not in their books. And that's a travesty. But anyway, I have dealt with kind of the final transition of this illness for the last 22 months, I guess. It's been quite difficult. But to bring you up to speed on the latest, because I know hopefully you've watched the other ones, please forward my links to my videos to others and like, subscribe, whatever. I'm gone by now, so it's not an issue. There'll be new ones scheduled daily until the end. But anyway, so in February, I finally got an appointment at Cleveland Clinic, but it was just with a neurologist, and I really needed kind of their whole system. They have if you make the appointments right and you're 4 months ahead, you can get kind of appointments with everybody. And I still think they wouldn't have found anything, but at least I would have got a full workup. But anyway, the neurologist up there said, hey, you don't have a neurological problem, you might have a connective tissue disorder. So go see a rheumatologist. And so it took until August for me to get the rheumatology referral. So in August, I meet with a rheumatologist. They are just concerned with what's going on with my arm, which only started in July. They don't, it's taken me all this long, and they're not even, it doesn't even make sense to only look at my arm when, here I am in February, and you can imagine how long it takes to go to the Cleveland Clinic. Obviously, what I've got is a much larger systemic issue. But no, they're just going to consider my arm. And she says, no, that's a orthopedic problem. So, of course, I need to go see an orthopedic, and she scheduled a follow-up. So I see the orthopedic. This takes weeks, get an MRI. Orthopedic says, no, you got a little tear in your rotator cuff, 25%, not anything surgical, and it's not a orthopedic problem. And I take the MRI right up to the rheumatologist. Finally, when I have my follow-up two weeks ago in late October. Now, so we've been February to late October. And rheumatologist looks at the write-up and disagrees, even though they're not an orthopedist, and said it's an orthopedic problem. But not by that point, it had spread through my pecs to my other arm, and it's obvious it's something systemic. But this person just says it's an orthopedic problem. Had their mind made up before they walked in the room, did not physically examine me. I gave them a very bad evaluation. I've linked that in a previous video. I linked to this specific doctor at OU, Dr. Thano, just whiffed would be the best way to put it. And so I got back, and I kind of waited several days, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I can't give up. And by this point, I'm having to ice arms and shoulders, and it's just, I'm in misery all the time, and I'm having abdominal things. And I know the progression of this. I don't know exact timelines, but I know kind of what's next and everything. And I'm just suffering. And so I make an appointment with my primary care physician. He has been with me since the very beginning, and I really haven't discussed this, but So when I got out of the laureate after I had first caused this iatrogenic condition, and my system was totally haywire at this point, because you can imagine when your pituitary has taken over hormonal control and completely from the hypothalamus, and it is regulating all the electrolytes by itself and everything, and basically everything is completely out of whack as far as hormones. Now, electrolytes, everything else blood-wise is perfectly in line. And so he's seen me since the very beginning. And he's been with me in several of these transitions where I'll go in and, everything is just going to pieces. And, I'm going through a transition where, my system is shifting to compensate in a different way. And, of course, they don't find anything clinical. And then, I get to where now, okay, the new compensation is fully in effect. And I go back to staying in shape, running long distance, lifting weights, doing all that stuff, getting great condition. You can look and see some picture of me in 2018. They're out there somewhere. Just super buff dude. So, that's kind of been the progression. He's seen all that. And so I go in to see him, and obviously I'm in pain. I can't even take off my heavy coat. It happened to be very cold. I take off my heavy coat without causing pain. And, I'm describing all my stuff to him, and he's actually, working with me and listening. And so he's willing to do two things. One was refer me to their rheumatology group. That's great. I mean, I'm happy about that because I would love a second opinion, but I happen to know it's going to take forever. And, it's not anything that I'm have any expectations set on. I expect to not make it to the appointment. Let's just put it that way. It's going to take that long. But he also wrote me a prescription. And the prescription he wrote me was for Lyrica, in case that what I have is fibromyalgia. And I was like, it's not what it is, but I am willing to try anything if you think this is going to help. So literally, I took the first pill Monday night. Tuesday, most of the burning is gone. Now then, I still have, like, my shoulders are still, only way I can describe my shoulders to anybody is it feels like raw meat. And if I put weight on it, like, where you push on either shoulder, it just feels like, you get sharp pains, okay, and burning too. But if I'm just relaxed, no real shoulder pain, maybe a little ache, not much. Very tolerable. Now the burning that I had in my arms and everything is pretty much gone with this Lyrica medication. Miracle medication. It very worth it. And now that I still have issues, when I put my arm down on something, I can feel burning. It's the best way I could say it. It feels like kind of that whole area, but it's so tolerable for me after all these months and years, in fact, of issues that I can deal with it. It doesn't help really the shoulders, but all I can tell you is that it has helped a lot with the general symptoms that I'm experiencing. Now then, it's not a cure, and it isn't gonna make anything like, I don't know. It is making things better, but it's not going to solve the problem. Let's just put it that way. It treats the symptoms, and I am thankful for that. And so, Lyrica, people who made this drug, thank you very much. And if it causes exacerbation of my symptoms or anything like that, or acceleration of the progression, I'm okay with that because I'm not suffering as much. Now that I can tell you, I am not a hopeful person at this point. I am without hope. And so the purpose of all of this video and me writing everything down is just to document this illness and the progression of it, and the fact that it exists, and the fact that medicine has redacted it. That's probably the thing that I'm most trying to document and prove and just pissed off about. That that whoever, I don't know who you want to say they is, okay? You can be paranoid and say they is the system, they is the who, whoever has decided that the information around this condition that is not needed in general science. And I disagree with that. And the reason I disagree with that is because it is so bizarre. And so bizarreness in science is exactly what you want to go explore. I mean, you don't want to, exploring the mundane doesn't do you any good, okay? But exploring the bizarre, the unexplainable, or the unique, or the completely uncommon, that's what science is for. And so they should be interested in this illness and how the system changes and compensates and everything about that, because somewhere in there is some science that somebody can use to do something useful, okay? And or to change, create change. That's what pisses me off the most, is that because they've redacted it and just thrown it away, there is no chance for anybody else to look at that and say, the way this part of that progression is working, we might be able to do something about and cause similar things with a medication that wouldn't cause all this other stuff that the guy's having to go through. I mean, the fact that my pituitary can jump in and control electrolytes completely and just start pushing them into tissues, okay, as needed, is truly groundbreaking. And the fact that, so how is it doing that? And is it with charge? Is it with hormones? What is it doing that's causing that? And in each one of these different phases, it's doing it in different ways. And so I just feel like they're missing out on that knowledge. And that's a bad thing. I don't regret my decision to do what I did at all. 28 years ago, I have no doubt that I doubled my lifespan and more, okay, by doing what I did. I just wish that the system, okay, hadn't thrown away the knowledge such that nobody would know what the hell I was talking about. I mean, the fact that I found it in a diagnostic manual means somebody studied it. It means somebody knew all about it. And the fact that they talked about modern medicines and modern possible treatments and how that, in the end, they would still all fail, okay, shows that it was somebody relatively recently at that time. That was 1995. So somebody within the last, say, 10, 15 years of that had studied it in their career. Now, maybe that was much earlier, okay? So this experiment was early 1900s. And so, the people would have had it, another 20 years. So sometime in the 1930s is when they would have been going through all this stuff that I'm going through. Great. And so let's say somebody, documented that, and, the documentation was around and somebody read it when they were studying medicine in the 60s. So just, 20, 30 years later. Okay. So that person would have been, say, 25. And so, they're still in their career in 85 and they write this, article. And it's so they could conceivably even still be alive. And know everything about my condition and know that it's not out there in science anymore. And it just blows my mind that science disappears. I don't think science should disappear. And you think about that, and like the concept of the new AIs coming out and how they're trying to kind of, make them safe and things like that. Okay, well, if AIs become basically the source of our knowledge, that means that somebody out there is deciding what we can know and what we can't know. And that's a whole thing, right? I mean, like, really? Who's the person that's deciding that? and saying, you can't know that. And what happens to that knowledge if nobody knows it for 20 years or 30 years? Does it just go away? I mean, does nobody know it anymore? I just blows my mind. And that's essentially what's happened here, is that they've taken science, redacted it, shoved it under the carpet, and nobody knows it anymore. I mean, what if we forget things because we think they're unethical, or we think they're, controversial, and we just forget it? I don't know. It's very difficult for me. Anyway, my path forward is, I'm just glad to get up each day, honestly. And I really don't even count on the next day coming. I have, so many pains, and so much going on. The latest thing I have is pain under my left shoulder blade. Started yesterday. It's still going on today, and I mean, that could be bad. With this condition, your heart is doing very, very little at this point in the condition. And that's so hard to explain. I'm just going to jump into it. I think this lyric that makes me talkative. Anyway, so you have to remember, for this condition, the heart has this suction effect, okay? And over time, what has happened is that circulation to like your lower extremities and your digestive system and everything else, as your volume decreases, you just get less and less circulation. And so all of the capillaries and everything, they're just closed off. And it's only the major veins that have any flow at all. And so you still have a pulse, you still have a distal pulse and everything, because these major things are still have blood going through them. And so you're saying, well, how can that be possible? How can you not look blue, or, like you're not oxygenated, or you're not, how do you have energy supplied to these extremities? And that is the key to this whole condition. And I think the reason why it's so controversial is that your body switches over to burning ketones, and energy is actually being supplied by the candidiasis, and that's where it just boggles the mind, and the science of it is extreme. And you go through this transition that is literally just several hours long. And for me, I think it happened in, like, I don't know, March or April of last year. That's how long ago it was. And when it happened, I took a hot shower, because that was one of the things that would help me feel better, is that everything was just, I would be having aches or just everything bad. And a hot shower would make me feel better. And so I took they literally, the hottest shower I had taken in a long time. And for the first time, I used both heads in my shower. So I had hot water coming both directions. And at the end of it, I just felt so relaxed and so good. And I went in, and I sat in my recliner, and pretty soon I started kind of feeling weird. And all I can tell you is that if I went to move, it was like a jerky action. And so when you move, there's kind of two levels to your movement. One is kind of this, I'll call it, muscle memory. So you basically tell yourself to walk, and you start walking, okay? And the other one is like conscious movement, where you're saying, okay, I'm going to lift my leg, I'm going to put it down, I'm going to lift my leg, I'm going to put it down. Okay. What I can tell you is that when I just did the unconscious movement of walking, okay, it was like robotic. It was really jerky. And then when I consciously said, okay, I'm going to walk and I'm going to do this, okay, I could make myself walk smoothly. But it only lasts several hours. And there was a picture in the original write-up of this, and they said that it was a picture of somebody that was going through this transition, and it was noted by this kind of clumsy walking, and that's exactly what went on with me. And I remember thinking, okay, if this is still going on tomorrow night, I'm going to video it. But it wasn't. It was the next morning I woke up and everything was normal. And so anyway, so that's how the energy is being supplied, and that's how circulation is. There's just almost no circulation. And so the people at the end of this in the research experiment, they were immobilized in these chairs where they were put at a certain type of angle, with their feet at a certain angle and their head at a certain angle, with their feet below and their head up. And that was to maximize circulation because of the suction effect. And because it caused the heart to pump the hardest. And that if you raise their feet, okay, then their heart didn't have to pump as hard. And it talked about how in the end, these people, okay, if they were in there and they were immobilized and everything, there was literally a thimbleful, and that's a direct quote. It said a thimbleful worth of blood circulating between the head and the brain, and that's all there was. And the rest of it was just, there wasn't any circulation. And that, I mean, that's going to blow some people's minds to think that, okay, so wait, energy, transmission, ATP generation, and it's not going to make sense to them. And there is science there, is what I'm trying to say, is there is tremendous science there for someone to go explore and to find things out about, and to say, wow, what if we were able to kind of do this and cure diabetes, or, what if we were able to do this and solve some other medical issue, use something of this process. Anyway, so I don't know. I just am happy to get up every day, and I'm taking some time. I'm trying. I've got picked out a series that I've been watching for All Mankind, and the reason I picked it out is because it's got 4 seasons of 10 episodes each, and they're all an hour long or more, and it's just something I can kind of set as a goal to say, okay, hey, I want to finish that, and so I'm going to try to make time for it, and it distracts me, and it's something I can do without moving around, because moving around at this point is bad. All my movements, everything I do is generating ATP in a bad way, because it basically kind of consumes my body. And so I'm just trying to, make it another day, essentially. Anyway, I'm super happy to have made it through Halloween. My son has had his second car wreck in a month, and I've been around to help deal with that. And I'm ordering gifts for Christmas presents. Even if I won't be here at Christmas, I'm going to be giving presents. And I'm just, trying to be a person as much as I can. And it's been very difficult. And I'm thankful for Lyrica. I'm thankful for my primary care physician. Hey, Michael Maddox, you are not getting it right. I don't expect anybody to at this point. What I have found is that there is no house out there. There is no scientists in medicine. Okay, there are just people who are able to look at known knowledge and try to categorize things into known knowledge, and they are not interested in unknown knowledge. And so when you redact knowledge, okay, they're not going to solve your problem. But Michael Maddox, you are at least helping. You are doing what you can within that framework, and I appreciate that. I think AI you know, if they allow AI to kind of think about the unknowns, maybe it'll do okay. But once again, we're talking about the whole thing about if it only knows what we tell it, it can know, and it only can tell us what it thinks we should know. That's a whole problem. And I don't know how you're going to solve that problem. But I see us losing knowledge if AI becomes the source for learning. If you know, if it becomes the gateway, I think is the best way to put it, the gateway to learning, then I see us losing knowledge, and that's really sad. You know, we're going to prune our knowledge tree to that which is politically acceptable and socially acceptable, and who's making those definitions. I mean, who is making those definitions? And I I I don't, I really don't know. You know, I don't know. Do you come out in favor of a system that'll tell somebody how to make bombs if they want to? I don't know. You know, because if it can't tell people how to make bombs, then it's also not telling people about medical research that is questionable. And I don't think that's okay. I think that there needs to be some source that you can go to have, you know, unfiltered knowledge. And the AI systems as they exist right now are going to be filters. And I think that's a problem. I won't be here to deal with it, but it's going to be a problem. Anyway, Jim Craddock here. Hey, like my video, forward this whole thing to your friends. You know, it's this terminal onset diabetes insipidus with candidiasis major. And you know, I'm just trying to document it and trying to do something for science. My background is chemical engineering and science and math. And, you know, the thing I've always liked about it is that, hey, these are some, you know, you build upon the knowledge of others. It's what it's all about. And when people reach in there and pull out knowledge like it's some Jenga tower, it's going to fall over, you know? So anyway, that's it for today's update. I know it was super long, but I kind of had a lot to say today.